Welcome to this episode of Kaleidoscope the podcast. My guest is Lisajane Gadd from the Gadd group.
And
I
that's
didn't get that out.
that could be something we
Um,
mentioned, but
you're most
interesting.
welcome, Lisajane. Um, thank you very much for agreeing to do this. We think we have a mutual friend, Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy facilitates some baby massage from our facility.
Lovely, brilliant. So, four questions, as always, are um, what happened before the change? What happened during the change? What was life like after the change? And what does the future hold? Not that any of us have a crystal ball, but just as
Nope.
far as you can tell
If
us.
we did, it would
So
be
I'm going to,
great, wouldn't it?
I know, we wouldn't it? Lottery numbers, please. I'm going to pass it over to you for you to tell us your story. Thanks, Lisa. Lisa
So I
Jane.
guess either or works. I guess I'm quite young for like where my story started in the sense of what the story is. So I whenever I was 19 went through a hard breakup as a 19-year-old. Wasn't really that hard, but as a young girl, obviously you sense it is. So for me, I got into the gym and I was like, I'm going to be the girl you should never have let go of, being quite sassy. However, it took me down a very different journey than, I thought it was going to. So a couple of years of me training, one of the coaches in the gym at the time came forward to me and basically said, oh, you should do a bodybuilding show. And I was like, do you think? Now, I was in no way in position for a bodybuilding show now, based on my knowledge. I know that, but bodybuilding can be whatever you want it to be. Obviously, you can start as a beginner in the sport, if you want to call it. And the personal trainer that approached me was a male, and obviously a female. So they can have understanding of females, but they will never live a female's life to know kind of the struggles of the hormones, especially only being young. I think I was like 21, 22 by the time I started competing. And he approached me and obviously said that. So I started on the bodybuilding diet, which would be like eggs for breakfast, fish, greens, rice, not very exciting stuff. I remember making some meals and being like, oh, I just don't want to eat it. But anyway, went on, did compete in 2015 and won my first bodybuilding show. Met a couple of people from doing it and continued on that journey. So 2016, I was like, I'm going to do it again. But I went and got a different coach because I started training in a different gym. Another guy, big macho bodybuilder, same again, six eggs at breakfast, broccoli and rice this, chicken and rice that, just all the boring stuff. And come down the line, I wasn't really getting the results that I kind of needed for the bodybuilding show. So what starts happening there is we start doing dodgy stuff with our food, i.e., binge, restrict, or for my case, I started using laxatives. I would eat a little bit of something I shouldn't have ate, and then I started using laxatives as a way to kind of get that out of my system. So, obviously, some people don't realize that is bulimia. They just think fingers down the throat is the only thing that classes as bulimia. But even if it is like you overeat and then over exercise, that still falls under that same category. So that year of competing, that's what I did. I did get to stage, but not in a healthy way. And again, I won another show, went on qualified for the British finals, and again, done really well. But on the aftermath of that, was not good. And I noticed it. So this is where kind of like change one comes. There was a girl at the British finals with me who I could see her. She was eating like sandwiches, coming up to prep, cookies, donuts. I was like, how's she doing that? If I'm doing that, I'm having to do something to offset it, which is not right. And I come from a family that don't weight train, don't have any experience, have done all the slimming worlds, all those different things. I've seen the struggle. So I wanted to stay small. As much as I was training and I was doing all the right stuff, if I was eating stuff that I shouldn't have been eating, I had to offset it. So once I had seen this girl still stand on stage after eating donuts and cookies and being leaner than me, I was like, what are you doing? And I approached her and she was working with a nutritionist. So as my next year started coming around for potential more bodybuilding shows in 2017, I started working with a nutritionist. So that was change one for me. Was I never worked with more male coaches. I started with a female coach who understood the hormones. I started with a nutritionist who understood nutrition rather than eating eggs and all the restrictive foods that have, yes, maybe nutrients in them, but no joy. That meant then I could eat enough calories in my favorite foods. Like I would then get comments being like, "Oh, you can't eat Cocoa Pops and win bodybuilding shows." Well, I went on into 2017 and again won another bodybuilding show. So it showed me I could do it. It didn't need to be super restrictive. I could work with my hormones. I could eat in a balanced way and still get the results I was after. And in turn, then I started being like, well, I want to do this. If as a female, another female can help someone else not go down the route of binge eating, restricting, taking laxatives, making themselves sick, any of those things, I want to be that woman that, can be there for someone else and help them. So I started changing my approach of my own nutrition, but then started to go down the route of becoming a personal trainer. I did originally try and become a dietetic or dietitian and missed my university offer by 1 point, which was a bit heartbreaking. But loads of people said to me, "Oh, like, would you not get it remarked?" But along that, along the course of trying to get into dietetics, I just realized that it wasn't dietetics I actually wanted to do. It was the personal training because I felt like it was more like being on the gym floor, and that's obviously where I had spent most of my hobby time, that I could change people's lives rather than working as a dietitian, which is a lot more official, maybe through the NHS, different things like that. And if I became a personal trainer, I would work for myself typically, and I could obviously still help women through that. So I started studying to become a personal trainer and took a year away from competing, thankfully, because a lot of the time with bodybuilding shows, people do the repeat, 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 and they're just always dieting, putting a wee bit of weight back on, dieting, putting a wee bit of weight back on. But as bodybuilders, you don't really build enough muscle that it looks anyway different the next year if you're not taking a wee bit of time out. So took a bit of time out, met a boy, and I worked in a gym because I was now qualified. And throughout that year, it was a very ropey road working alongside of him. Unfortunately, he cheated on me with a member of the gym, which is very interesting. And obviously, I was in recovery, let's call it, from the bulimia. I didn't ever binge restrict or do anything. I haven't touched a laxative since 20, would it be 2016? So we're going good now, but even between 2016 and 2018, that's still a good chunk. So was in a good position. After the breakup obviously came from the cheating, then I started going, more down another bodybuilding show route as a way to kind of keep my head sane. However, this was the one that caused the damage in the sense of my health. And that's where my last changes kind of came. So I now own Gadd Group Health, as you had a bit of a struggle saying. So we are a health and wellness centre, and obviously 2019 show prep, my hair was falling out. I had no period for 10 months. I couldn't walk up the stairs without holding on to banisters. I just took myself too far. I dieted for 42 weeks, which there's only 52 in the year, so pretty long, and I lost 25 kilo. I was 7.5 stone by the end of it, and I just was done in. So by the end of that, I realized, okay, bodybuilding and being healthy in bodybuilding is a thing to a certain extent. And after that, we're in a reserve. We have nothing left to give, and that's where I got to. So shortly after that, obviously, the pandemic came, and shortly after that, my husband came. So I met my now husband during the pandemic, and he taught me. I knew that I needed to start being healthy, so I had started learning different things about hormones and female physiology. But he is health through and through. He loves to study. He is so, so smart. Anything I thought I knew before I met him, I knew nothing, or I tried to learn and it just wouldn't sink in because I didn't have the ground knowledge. Whereas now, like, obviously we own the facility we own because we have a lot of knowledge and a lot of passion. So obviously my health journey and losing my period and being over restricted and having nothing to give means that that's not something I would let another female kind of move through. So that was another big change. But there's a wee story in there. Obviously we did speak about what you do as well. So EFT, and that was a part of my story as well, was when I first met Ben, he is a personal trainer as well. So obviously the ex-boyfriend that cheated, and my belief system on men was that they lie, they cheat, and they leave. So I had a bit of work to do whenever I first met him. So I started doing some EFT, some timeline therapy, all that kind of stuff, and just rewriting my beliefs on men. So that was another change, was I had a lot of therapy to do based on all my stories and all my history, and my belief system from just growing up. And in meeting Ben, then I made the change of doing all the EFT, etc., and going down the health route. And that's where we are now. Hopefully
Very
that makes
good.
sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and what does the future hold?
The future. So basically what we do is, with being a health and wellness center, is we help women with their sleep, their stress, their training and nutrition. So we have been open from April last year, and the future holds more of what we're doing. So we have what we call our perfect clients. The clients that we have now, I wouldn't change any of them. I'd love to keep them forever. But if I just had more of them, I would be delighted, because I know that I'm changing their lives. Like, the feedback we get from our clients is fantastic. We do change their lives, but it's their haven, it's their safe space, but there's also a really fantastic community. And they all, like, I don't want to say they click, because there's no click. They just gel really well together, and it is such a lovely space. So the future holds more of what we're doing, and we do plan to expand and have more facilities in the future. But for now, we just want to continue serving the clients that we have, and get more of the same people in through the door, and just continue changing lives and supporting women. Because I done a reel yesterday on women are so conditioned that we just need to eat less and move more. But what does healthy look like? You do need nutrients coming in. And the women we sit down with, some of them are 55, and they're like, oh yeah, like I'll just have my breakfast and I'll have my dinner, and they'll tell me what it is. And I'm like, that's 700 calories. Like, who do you think that's fueling? So it comes down to education. So we're kind of branching out into some corporate wellness now. Ben has been going out to like Fintree, HSC, they come in, IKEA, we've had some solicitor companies come forward. And part of that is regulation. So we do breath work. So Ben will go out and he'll facilitate some breath work with the staff from the buildings, but also then getting them in, doing seminars with them. We done a female fat loss seminar a few weeks back, and it wasn't really about fat loss. It wasn't the tips and tricks. It was more about like fueling your body, making sure you're getting the nutrients in for fat loss. And I feel like they're the things that are missing in this industry. As I said, myself included, I was eating 6 eggs a day and broccoli this and chicken that. What about the nutrients? Like, yes, you're getting nutrients in those things, but if you're only ever eating the same food all day, every day, and where's the joy,
No,
then you're
no.
never going to stick to that.
Yeah, it has to be that rainbow plate, as they talk about all the different colors to get all the different
Absolutely.
nutrients. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And like,
Brilliant.
your body, it needs them, and it needs enough calories to be fueled. And so, yeah, the future is really just educating and empowering women to be healthy and get the results that they're after, without slogging so hard that gets them nowhere, and they're just spinning their wheels. Like, you're not 20 anymore, you're maybe 50, you're maybe even 40, you're maybe even 30, and you're not getting the results that you might have if you were doing the same thing when you were 20. And that's just part of that's the world. The food that we get now isn't as nutrient dense as it was. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know if you've ever seen, there's a little image that shows like the soil and all the nutrients that used to be in it. But basically, like, one lettuce head back 30 years ago is now equivalent to 11 lettuce heads for the same amount of nutrients. So, like, that's one change, never
crazy.
mind
No,
our
I know.
body
It is. It's
changing.
absolutely crazy.
Mad.
It is crazy. Kind of say we need to eat what our grandparents were eating, and you're like, no, you need to eat 10 times
Yeah.
that stuff that, if I could eat portion wise what my grandparents ate, but the nutrients are not, carrot doesn't have, they've made it sweeter and sweeter. Apples, they've made them sweeter and sweeter, you
Yeah.
know,
Everything
and
has changed.
strawberries
And
that
you
are
can say it's
perfect wee heart
evolution, but
and, pardon?
you could say it's evolution, because everything's changed, but it's not going in the right way sometimes.
No, no, it's certainly not that stuff. Not when they're adding more and more sweetness to the apples and things
Yeah.
to get you, and the same with the carrots and the same with strawberries and things like that. No,
Yeah.
that's not, because those sugar spikes
Yeah.
are the
Blood
things that
blood
that
sugar
are that are
dysregulation is
certainly
a
one of the
huge
things that
part.
is not very good for us.
Yeah.
Um, so where is the GAD group, health group?
Yeah.
Based.
We are on the Ravenhill Road, just 5 minutes from Belfast City Centre. We are
Conference, very good.
located inside what used to be an old GP surgery. So, whenever obviously you're taking that tongue twister, so we did call it Gadd Group Health Centre, which is a wee bit of a complication. So actually something we're working on over the next little chapter of time here is a slight rebrand. So we're just changing the name to say more about what we do. So it'll be Gadd Health and Wellness come the future.
Very good. Thought I could probably get my tongue around better.
Exactly, yeah. So that's it. It's like just noticing, like, some people will call it like Gadd Group Health, some people will call it Gadd Health Group. So we're just like, okay, what can we change here to make it easier, but also like to make it more about what we do rather than people complicate us still being a health centre. As much as health is our main focus, obviously keeping that in there. Like how can we tell people more about what we do?
But a lot of the health centres now are not health centres. They're
Exactly.
ill health
Yeah.
centres.
Yeah.
There
We
may be
used
a
to say
little
like you
bit
come here to get healthy, you go to the GPs because you're sick.
because you're not well and you want to get whatever types of medication and stuff. It's not about, and it's rare that you would go to a health centre. Um, a lot of the conditions, not all of the conditions by any stretch of the imagination, but a lot of the conditions that we have now are either preventable or curable.
Yeah.
But it's rare you go to a health centre and they'll say, you've got, say, type 2 diabetes, and here's what you need to do to your
Yeah.
diet. They
Yeah.
probably do. I remember my husband coming home and the one thing that stuck for him was, I'm not allowed diabetic chocolate. For that very reason, because it's got laxatives in it.
Yeah.
So you're not, and why people are allowed to make
These.
chocolates with laxatives in them for diabetics is beyond me. But anyway, um, but that was the bit that he thought he'd come up with this. This is great. I'm going to be able to have diabetic chocolate and that was the only bit of nutrition that
Yeah. And that's
really
the thing is like we say we're frontline healthcare, in the sense like you come to us
yeah,
first so that you don't get sick. And we do
yeah,
work with people that are pre-diabetic, as you're saying, it's the element of they go in and they'll probably get told how to manage it, but they'll never really get told how to reverse it. And especially when you're
yeah,
pre-diabetic, you can go
yeah,
back to non-diabetic. It's just you need the right support and education. And we do
absolutely.
get some of our clients to wear the CGMs on their arms, and whenever they find out what foods spike their blood sugars, or even if it's stress or their sleep, like one of the girls, she was always hitting lows in her sleep, so her sleep quality was really poor. So if we can
Yeah,
up
yeah.
her sleep quality through fixing her blood sugars, then she has better sleep quality. She also makes better food choices because she's not
It's
so
just, yeah,
tired.
because you're not so tired. Yep,
Yes, it's such a, it's a holistic approach in what we do. It's not just like every person is on the same thing. It's really like finding out, where are you at? What have you tried? What hasn't worked for you? And what are your goals? A lot of clients do, and there's, I would say, 5 or 6 of them that have polycystic ovary syndrome. And again, that is reversible for most people. It might
yep,
take 3 to 5 years for some, but it depends as to what markers of PCOS you've got. So for some of them, they do obviously have cysts on the ovaries. That is the longer term, but for others, it is just the blood sugar and the hirsutism. We can fix that pretty quick. High blood pressure, again, like no client would ever be on our gym floor unless we've checked their blood pressure. Can we fix it? Absolutely. They're all things that you go to the doctor and your doctor's like, yeah, it's grand. But do you even know how much of a risk of heart attack you're at? Like for every 20/10 beats your blood pressure's up, you're 50% more likely of a heart attack. Sorry, what? Like I didn't know
yeah.
this when
And
I
nobody,
first
and
qualified
nobody,
either.
yeah,
This is all stuff I learned from Ben and just then further studies is like how important health is and how crazy it is that we can fix a lot of these things and prevent you from having a heart attack. We
absolutely,
can
absolutely,
elongate your life.
absolutely. I'm right there with you. You're preaching to the choir. Um, I know it doesn't look like it with but trust me, I'm a lot healthier than most people.
That's
I
it.
have this thing, and I've said it in some of the other podcasts, where when I go to not my own doctors, but you go up to the hospital or whatever, and they would say to you, "So, what medication are you on?" Like, none. No, but for your diabetes, don't have diabetes. Well, for your high blood pressure, I don't have high blood pressure. And they're
They're
like,
just labeling you.
no, they really, they look at me and go, you must. I'm like, no. And it's for my size and having ovarian cancer. I am really healthy.
Yeah.
I am really, really healthy. And I
And
eat
people don't
healthily and
realize
I'm
like where you are now isn't where you've always been.
no. And there's so one of the questions I was going to ask with the EFT tapping, have you brought that in for people that have um maybe trauma in their life? And therefore because there'll be people like me that our bodies will really never let go of the weight because our
Mm,
bodies need to feel safe.
yeah.
So are you bringing in EFT or anything for
We
people like
don't
that?
have anyone that does EFT here. However, I will use it with clients from I done a lot of ours myself, but also the lady we trained with, she had trained us up as like support for she done an online program. So there was four of us that were selected. We spent 4 weekends with her doing further training, both to support ourselves, but also to learn to support other people. So actually just the other day, I think it was Monday, there was a lady in and she was quite upset and I just taught her like that's really simple. It was just like it's safe to let it go. It's okay to let it go. As I let it go, my whole world changes. Very simple, connecting our breath, shifting from sympathetic into parasympathetic. I've done it with lots of clients. We do have a lady starting next week who is a trauma coach and does a lot of Gabor Mate's work. We have kinesiologists who also, can really work with, they do the MCC method. I'm not sure if you know who Rafe McCutcheon is, but him and his business partner, they made it. So it's emotional kinesiology, but they're trained in 5 different kinds. So they'll look
Lovely.
at the body, they'll look at whether there's nutrient deficiencies and food intolerances, but they'll also look at the emotional body as well. And we have acupuncture. So again, all those different things. We have audiovisual therapy, which is lights penetrating in the back of the eye while sound travels across the brainwave. Again, very calming, very nourishing for the nervous system. PEMF therapy. There's lots of things there for that safety. Yoga, breath work, all of those things, they're all under that one roof. So we kind of label it as the full solution to female health because
Yeah.
anything that we think that you need to support your health should be in this building. And we're always open to bringing in more practitioners to house within the facility as long as they align with our vision, of course.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, absolutely.
it's always about trying to have that referral. Ben and I can't do everything, and are never going to be qualified in every option under the sun. So can we
Nope.
have as many different people here that can support? Because, like you say, for some people, it needs to be a certain kind of treatment or therapy, and you can try loads of them and not figure out which one you need. We actually had a guy in recently who done some block therapy. I'm not sure if you've heard of that.
Yeah,
It was very interesting. So it's like compression to decompress. So we done a
yeah,
session with him. And just very interesting to see how the different people within the class, how their bodies reacted to the experience, depending on how much or issues they keep in their tissues. Whereas other people that maybe don't keep so much uptight weren't so bad after it. So it's very interesting. It's just really finding your approach, isn't it?
it absolutely is. I'm different, and that's why I've trained in so many modalities. Different for you. You're right. You're trained in a whole pile of modalities around weight training
Yeah,
and nutrition and so on and so forth for not weight training as in competition stuff, but
yeah,
for taking somebody like me through the
yeah.
gym. Um, you cannot do then
No,
block work and kinesiology and did it
no.
because you wouldn't
You
have
have
you
no
wouldn't your
time.
head would be spinning. Your
Yeah.
head would be
And
spinning.
it's great to
But
have
I'm
bits of knowledge for yourself, but you're never going to be able to facilitate all of those
no,
things.
no, no, absolutely. But that's one of the reasons I train in so many modalities to be able to help people because I know with emotional well-being, it depends on, there's no point in me doing talking therapy with somebody who's experienced trauma
Yeah.
because it doesn't live in
Within us.
the thinking part, talking part of our brain. It lives in the body and in the limbic and the emotional part of. I do this because I do it all with hands when I'm talking about the brain.
Yeah.
Um, it lives in the limbic part of the brain, the
Yeah.
feeling, the emotional center, not in the thinking center. So there's no point in me trying to do, and that's not to say talking therapy doesn't work. It does in some instances, but not for trauma. Not,
Some
I
people
don't
that
believe it
just
works for trauma.
re-traumatizes them by talking about it.
For a lot of people, yes, absolutely. Um, and they're already living it all the time without then talking about it.
Mm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, so I love that you have enough skills to be able to help people in the moment, and I love that you have the backup there of
Yeah.
lots of people. I actually love the whole concept. That's I would love in Antrim to have a health and well-being centre, exactly what you're talking about. Um, with all, I have my eye on a building as well, but I've got to win the lottery first. Um,
It's
to
hard
have,
going. Like I wish people spoke about the struggle of starting your own physical business. You know, we've been self-employed for 7.5 years, but this journey has been a whole kettle of fish. Like I turned 30, we opened a month later, we got married 8 months later. We're still standing. How? Sometimes you wonder, but it really has been a journey of growth and has asked us to be like, you know, all the things that we've learned in our life is to put it into play and be resilient, be strong, but also step back, rest, do all of those things.
yeah,
And one of the hard parts is trying not to take business personal.
no, absolutely, absolutely, particularly because it becomes a bit like your baby.
Yeah,
But sometimes our babies turn into toddlers or teenagers, and at that point, we need to give them over to somebody else who
yeah,
actually knows more about toddlers and
yeah,
teenagers than we do. And that can be really hard.
yeah,
Or bringing in like managers
yeah.
to run a company. Yeah,
Someone to take away
absolutely.
the stress off.
Yeah, it can, but it's also then where's the line
Yeah,
where you're caring enough about your business, but you're backing off enough to
to
allow the
let
manager to do their job
yeah.
without you sitting at home going, "Oh my God, he's got my baby."
Yeah, and it's like even when like we went on holiday recently, and even when we got married, you know, there's that where you need to ask someone in to support you because obviously it's just Ben and I in the actual business. So it's like, okay, we need some support so we can go on holiday or go get married. So bringing someone in, and there's that like, is it going to be okay? And it was
Yeah.
great, thankfully.
Well, it's about picking the right people and having full trust in those people, and you don't do that lightly.
No,
You
100%.
don't
Like,
you don't do
thankfully,
that.
we do have some industry friends that we really trust in. And part of that comes from even just knowing like their educational background. You know, it's not never going to be a new personal trainer or, you know, someone too young that hasn't maybe been working in the industry for a few years. So our friend like also often works with females. He's been coaching for I think 5 years. So and he's done some of the similar courses we have. So we knew that he was going to be able to come in and just kind of, you know, take that over. But he did come in and shadow for an evening, which that was his suggestion as much as we wanted it. He was willing to do that, give up his time and come in and meet some of them and go through the workout while we were there. And he was just got stuck in. So it's really nice to have that support.
And it's also lovely for as a person who used to go to the gym, um, it's lovely to know who rather than walking in and having a new even if you know
Yeah.
you and Ben are going on holiday and but you walk in and there's a new person that's gonna
Yeah.
take your so even having seen them about the gym can
He
sometimes just
actually
ease
works in
that.
Antrim if you want hooked up. Now that I think about it.
You can let
Very
me know
good.
his name afterwards. Um, so to our final 3 wee questions that I like to ask people, and I do this, I ask 3 questions quite deliberately because if you ask me my favorite book, it's usually what I'm reading right now. Um, so it's favorite book, favorite phrase, or what you would tell your younger self, and you're reaching up for a book.
Yeah. So we have
I love.
favorite
By the way, I love that this is color coordinated. All the blacks, all the yellows, all that doesn't
yeah,
matter about, but all the reds, all that.
it's all
It's
there.
not how mine looks.
I quite like this book that I was recommended. It's obviously back to front, but You Were Not Born to Suffer. I think it just covers a lot of bases. Whenever I picked it up, it didn't even matter about like reading it in order, but I just opened it to the contents and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go there first. Well, I'll maybe go there next. So I just feel like it covers so much. Like there is like love and heal your inner child, deep self-respect, unconditional self-love, release your fear. So there's just loads of different categories, and I feel like it's the one book that you could almost give to anybody, and there'll be a wee bit of healing in it for anyone. And I remember my now sister-in-law was going through a hard time, and I just gave her the book, and she just went and picked whatever bit that she wanted to read on, and then could give it back to me. So our library we allow members to rent out the books because well, we're not going to read them all of the time, all at once. And there might just be something there that picks up that they want, that they maybe need a wee bit of something. And there's anything from biochemistry for dummies, um, inspired destiny, golf books, all sorts of madness. So I think it's a lovely library for anybody.
Very good.
My
Very good. I love that it's a library for other people to use.
Yeah. My
Um,
favorite phrase is written on a wall in our house, and it says, "The universe has your back, you can never fail." And I stick with that all the time. And even in tough times, it comes back to me, and I'm like, yep, that's still the case. And I tell it to anybody that's going through the trenches is just the universe has your back. You literally can't fail because feeling is just like you going in the direction that you're supposed to go to instead.
yes, a redirection. Brilliant. First attempt in learning is what I say, or a further
Yeah.
attempt in learning,
Yep.
considering how many times I failed. Um, and what would you tell your younger self?
That's probably like I wrote down some of my answers before I even spoke to you, but that's the one I didn't really probably still that the universe has your back. You can never feel. It's
So
just like if
that's
I
grand.
tell
Yeah,
her that she can't feel, she'll be fine.
brilliant. And do you think if you'd have told her that, that would have helped her when she was 19 in her first breakup? Or
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just like
I think so.
it doesn't matter what you do. It like take the risk, try it
Yeah,
in anything. It's so
brilliant.
like it suits every situation in life and every attempt, as you said, like it just always works.
Brilliant. Love that. Thank you very much.
Thank
So,
you.
Lisajane, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. We'll put your website address. Do you have a website address?
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
put that below in the descriptors. Um, I wish you continued success
Thank
with
you.
Gadd Group Health. I look forward to you changing the name so I can get my tongue around it.
I know she's
Um,
not a tongue twister.
and I look forward to the day that you're opening in Antrim and I can come and join your gym.
Yeah, you never know. You never
You
know.
never know.
We have
Absolutely.
plans going down the way, but you never know. We might go up the way too.
Brilliant. Lisajane, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.